Enlightenment is not a state. So you could say this little rant is about stateless states, or what Ramanuja might have called qualified non-duality. Qualified non-duality is the idea that while God is absolute, or spirit, or the quantum field has all properties at all times, it also has attributes. Relative non-duality. What does that mean? That means that all possibility is accessible at all times. So when people say there's such a thing as an Akashic record, there really is, because everything that has ever been impressed upon reality is not forgotten. Okay, in other words, we may not know the full extent of eternity's shuffling of the deck. In other words, if you go around the infinity pole, and maybe you come upon the same scene, just with a slightly different twist. And this is exploring the boundary layers between a finite and an infinite reality. Our minds, some say, are the very substance of reality. And as we know in dreams that become lucid, we can actually change the script. We can, or at least have the sensation or the appearance of changing the script as it is unfolding, just by becoming more aware of the nature of the dream. So what I really wanted to talk about in this download was the well of wisdom, or the well of soul, Thymos, T-H-Y-M-O-S, which is the ancient Greek word for soul, is also the root of the word thymus. So by doing the thymus tap, we ask our holon to embrace its ensouled nature, its indwelt, its spirit indwelt nature. Thymos, Thymos, Thymos. This is how there can even be such a thing as language, is that first there is a presence of the universal being located in your body-mind temple, and the bell is being rung in the temple. And the time for us to answer that call is now. The way we answer the call of eternity is by saying, I have no breaks between me and it. I have no gulf, no emptiness between me and eternity. Eternity is the resonant cavity of the bell that is our life, that we are ringing every moment. Space, time, it is all one holy cacophony, one great resonant potentiality field. Oh well. 8 minutes of enlightenment is sometimes interrupted by actual phone calls in the real world. We have a dignitary coming in, and we just had to have him addressed. So in spirit, there is no break between good, goodness, somewhat good, not so good, all the qualities that flow into each other. You cannot ultimately say where one flows into the next. There are such varied and infinite, really, shades of gray between one emotion and another. You might have two emotions at the same time combined in a strange brew of personal angst or what have you. I mean, the point is, if you can settle and center and focus your being enough, you feel the unanimity of the universe. You feel that you are being motivated on the same axis as everybody else. You just fucking know it, pardon the French. And there's no way to get out of this. So qualified non-duality means you're God, but God has so many more attributes than you do. You just cannot claim them all, because that would be monopoly, and only God has the monopoly. So you don't have monopoly. God has monopoly. God made monopoly. There was no such thing as monopoly before there was God. So hey, don't try to get a corner on divinity, because it ain't going to happen. All you have is the frequency of resonance between you and the timeless one. What is that frequency of resonance? Well, it depends on how grand is your scope. How are you, like a Giordano Bruno? Are you someone who can see through the miasma of theology and know that there really isn't anything between you and God, that God could never hold back anything, that there is no such thing as outside of God's will? The word Lord in Hebrew means the self-existent and eternal. If it's self-existent, it needs nothing else to define it. Okay? You are not needed to define God. You're not. And therefore, we belong to that definition. We belong to it, because that's all there is. Okay, there's nothing outside of it. By definition, the word Lord in Hebrew is the self-existent and eternal. Nothing exists outside of it. Nothing can exist apart from it. Or if those things do, then there's no point in talking about an absolute being called God, because that being's not absolute anymore. So logic just needs to be taught a little bit more rigorously than it is. In New Thought churches like the one I was brought up in, we see the pervasiveness of divinity, the inclusiveness of divinity as being paramount. Okay, there is no reductionism possible in a world completely dominated by the presence, capital P, of the One. Okay? Now that's true non-duality, but we have trouble experiencing that because we're just so preoccupied with calling things by name and form. And wait a minute, I don't get it. What is without name and form? Well, you don't get it, and neither do I. We're not supposed to get it. My shaman, Crowman, taught me the mind will never get you to God. You have to learn to experience the divine on many levels. The mind alone is not the vehicle. Accept that everything is good in your life, because all there is the goodness. Ahom Atakyasam.